I've been excited about this ever since I heard the album, man. Like,
Nice. You got sent the album? You heard the whole thing?
dude, I've listened to the album about 85 times.
Well, that's a good sign.
Yes, like my favorite thing is one of my favorite things about the album is you can't skip through a single song because you're gonna miss something, and there's so many style changes on every song that like it is just remember when I listened to it the first time, almost every song I'd be like, okay, what?
Yep.
You know? Like it's awesome.
Yes, lots of surprises packed around every corner.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like it.
Oh, I
It's
love
good.
it.
Everybody that I've been doing interviews with is like, "Oh, we have heard the album. It's fucking crazy." Obviously, probably nobody would tell me if they thought it was bad to my face, but but it's still nice to hear. It's still nice to hear that some of the early birds are enjoying it. So feels good.
Yeah, like so, like, what I love is you'll go from heavy metal to trap to EDM, back to rock, back to metal. And honestly, a lot of time you don't even realize you've done it until it's over. Like
Yep. Yep.
there's such smooth transitions. Like story of our lives is a perfect example of that. Like
Yep. Yep.
you shift so like obviously you're independent, so like I'm assuming like that's a big reason that you've been able to do that with this record is this is the closest thing to who Jeris Johnson is as you can possibly get. There's no boundaries.
Yeah, it helps to definitely not have anybody else in your ear like
Yeah.
you should do a song like this or you should do a song like that. And that was never like really the case in general for me. But what I will say is that like being independent and having like the time I took to make the album, where I like stepped away from social media for a couple of years basically, and just like kind of decided to go on like a spiritual journey of sorts, that really helped having that time to just sit and be free enough to create and discover things about myself and about my own artistry that I didn't know before.
Mhm.
That time I think really helped make the album what it is.
Yeah, for sure. I in my review that's going to post, about a week and a half or so. I compared it a lot to Andrew WK meets Tenacious D meets Avenged Sevenfold.
Nice. All right. I'll take
Like,
that. I'll take
yeah,
that.
like Down with the Dynasty is so good. You've got the heavy metal, then you've got like the I'm not good with non-rock and metal genres,
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
know
yeah.
what I mean.
Sure. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then you've got the almost like the choir party, just synchronized all in one, everybody at once, then back into it, back and forth, like so many different songs and styles. But one song that stands out is Siren Song. This has
Okay.
been on my mind. Did you sample What Child Is This?
Well, it's technically a lot of things. I assume that you're correct and that whatever that is, which I
Yeah.
is it a Christmas song or what is that?
What's that?
What child is that like a Christmas song or?
The Christmas song.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's technically the origin of the melody is a classical piece of music called Green Sleeves.
Okay.
And it came out, whatever in the 1800s or something. And many people have it's been spun many different ways, into Christmas songs, into whatever. But
Okay.
melody,
Yes.
that whole melody is a classical piece of music called Green Sleeves.
Okay.
And I was actually the origin of that song is actually pretty cool because I was doing a session with Hollywood Undead, who I've been working with for a little while, and
Yes.
producing. I don't know if it's a secret or not, but I've been helping out write and produce some of their new material. And one of the dudes in the room was like, "Bro, you should do like a Green Sleeves interpolate because we're talking about When the Darkness Comes and how When the Darkness Comes has the interpolation of the the Streets of Cairo slash Poor Little Country Maid, whatever. Same old melody from the 1800s. You know, he's like, oh, you should
Yeah.
do a Greensleeves one. I was like, what's Greensleeves? He's like, oh, you've heard it, you know it. Like, look it up. And I heard it, and I was like, oh yeah, I should definitely do that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I love obviously it's one of my strengths is kind of like remixing and reinterpolating certain things, and it's always been something I've been really good at naturally. And so when I was making this album, I knew I wanted to pull from a few very classical, you know, medieval sounding melodies for my concept because I felt like it would match perfectly, and it obviously does. So
Yeah.
yeah, fuck it, metal green sleeves. Let's do it.
I
So
love it. Yeah, when the darkness comes, my kids, my 3-year-old twins, oddly enough, are obsessed with The Nightmare Before Christmas,
nice.
which
Oh yeah.
is so weird, but I love it. And when the darkness comes, the medieval intro really reminds me of something from from Nightmare Before Christmas a
Yeah.
lot. I don't
Yeah.
know why. It just has
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah. You're not the only one to have said that. You know, there's a lot of I think a lot of the times when newer artists like me have a bigger song that like reaches beyond, you know, what my immediate fan base is at the moment. Like
Mhm.
everybody always loves to compare it to everything, you know, and so people anything you can imagine that song being compared to has already been compared, you
You've
know,
been
like
getting a lot of Avenged Sevenfold, haven't you?
and of course, yeah, and they're
Yeah.
one of my biggest inspirations. I'm not shy about that, you know.
Right. Well,
This album.
it's an ode to metal. Was it Unholy Confessions, I think is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
title you
There's
dropped in that one.
a few direct lyrical comparisons in that
A Day
song.
to Remember, some
And
Slipknot.
yeah, yeah, and obviously, you know, throughout the whole album, there's a lot of moments that
Mhm.
are like, oh, that kind of sounds like an old Avenged Sevenfold song. But I always make sure, you know, look, when everybody has inspirations, and all of the greatest bands that we are even referencing also
Mhm.
had inspirations, and they made riffs that kind of sounded like these riffs, and that's how art works. You know, you take inspiration from something, and then you add something into it.
Yep.
So, you know, yeah, while there's sections of some of these songs that sound like an Avenged Sevenfold riff or sound like this other thing, I'm
Yep.
always trying to add something to the conversation afterward. It's never just a pure like this whole song is just a one-to-one exactly sounds like a Avenged Sevenfold song. I'm always
No.
trying to do something that maybe they wouldn't or couldn't do
Hmm.
as a band and try to add something to the conversation and push it forward just a little bit more and add a little bit of me into
Yeah.
something that I'm inspired by. So yeah, I always try to whenever I'm taking inspiration, obviously you always have to because that's how music works. The idea that I'm even making a metal, I mean, I didn't invent metal, you know,
Right.
and no band in the past fucking multiple decades has invented metal. So
Right.
you know, we're always just trying to add something to the conversation, trying to push it forward, trying to excuse me, trying to add just a little bit of our, you know, personality into it that
Mhm.
just evolves the conversation, evolves the sound of metal,
Mhm.
in a way because I think it needs to be evolved, and you know that's how new genres are made. That's how new movements are made. Is taking inspiration from something old, adding just enough new to the conversation that people go, oh, this is metal. Like before, I was always, you know, my previous music, I was always like, this is rock, this is metal, because I felt like it had the spirit of rock and metal,
Mhm.
but I can acknowledge that, you know, because maybe there wasn't necessarily live drums or guitar in every song, it was hard for people to acknowledge it. Maybe it was rock or metal. And
Yeah.
with this album, I knew I wanted there to be no question. This is a rock and metal album. You cannot deny that, you know, and I've shifted the conversation from Jeris doesn't make rock or metal music to maybe now people will say Jeris doesn't make real rock and metal music. But they acknowledge that I do make rock and metal music. So it's all about just evolving the conversation and slowly swinging people in your direction. And I think this album will probably move the needle for a lot of people in
Oh.
terms of viewing me as a rock and metal artist because I am one, you know.
Oh God. Yeah. And if anybody has a doubt of it, like Not a Person Freak, that song is a metal song. And your vocal styles are just insane. The range that you have and the different vocal styles you're able to pull off on this record. You
Thank you.
can,
Yeah, I pushed myself more than I ever had to try experiment and try different things with my voice.
Mhm.
Obviously, I have more screaming and stuff
Yeah,
on the album that I've ever done in the past, and I'm still refining my scream and trying to get better at it. It's something I used to be able to do actually better when I was like in high school, and for some reason I just because I stopped screaming for so long that
hmm
I kind of forgot how to do it. I had to like reteach myself a little bit. Uh, but I'm still working on that. But yeah, there's a pretty wide range of things I tried on the album and ways I experimented with my voice that I hadn't previously done. Because I like that. I love when I hear artists where I'm like, damn, this sounds like three different fucking vocalists on this song, but it's one person, and
yeah.
I think that's really cool. So I wanted to push my own voice in that direction.
So, so do you play as a solo artist? Do you play each instrument that we're hearing on the record? Do you have session musicians that come in and do those
No,
for you?
I play all the guitar you hear is me. Um,
Oh,
all the drums. I mean, they're programmed, but I play drums. I could play them live. I just didn't want to spend the money, and I know how to program drums very well. So, they're programmed drums. But and I think that's cool. Like I think people are like shy about that, like bands and stuff. Like, oh, we program drums. Which, by the way, every band has programmed drums and triggers and
yeah.
stuff. A lot of them do record live, but it's always layered with programmed drums and everything because
Mhm.
live drums they don't sound like triggered program drums. They just sound way smaller and shittier. Um, but and I would like to once I have, some bigger budget stuff, maybe for my next album, I'd love to like go and track live drums on top of the program drums and stuff just to get a little bit more, perfect. 'Cause sometimes you can just do things when you track live drums that you just can't get some of the humanity, you know. And even if you know how to program really well like I do, it still can be a little tough. And but I could everything you hear on the album I can play live.
Nice.
I might even do like a series of drum playthroughs for a bunch of the
Mhm.
songs on the album where I'm just like playing the drums just to be like, hey, just so you guys know, I mean, I can do this. But I think from the metal world, like it's something that we shouldn't shy away from. Like the fact that just like one kid like me can produce an album that sounds like this in my bedroom, I think I hopefully is inspiring for other
Yeah.
who are learning how to produce and stuff. Like I feel like the kid on a laptop in their bedroom thing has always been dominated by like hip hop and like EDM producers and stuff. And I
hmm
just want to show people that like hey, you can do this in the metal genre too, by the way. Like you can
Yeah.
sit here and fucking make an entire epic metal album just from your own bedroom on a laptop. And
It's
so
insane.
it's not something I'm shy about, that I sat here and played all the guitars and programmed all the drums and did everything.
I
So
mean, honestly, you should be proud of it because, like, holy mother of God, like, I mean, there's not a weak song on they're all different. Like, I mean, Welcome to Valhalla really stands out because it's like three or four
yeah.
different songs in one. You've
Right.
got the
It's probably
rapping
the craziest
choir,
song
which
I've
is
ever made.
great.
Yeah, yeah. I got the main vocal sample that you hear in the intro and in the outro is from the Wellerman, which I don't know if you've heard of them, but
No.
they're a big like vocal group. They have a big YouTube channel and stuff, and they do lots of like kind of Viking-esque, shit. And I knew about them previously, and I was like, oh, I want to get them to like sing something on the album. So they're kind of secretly on this album, and so I got them to do that little bit there. Uh, but yeah, that song is probably the craziest song I've ever made. I'm very proud of that one. Definitely wanted to throw in like a fucking crazy 5 minute long progressive, metal banger in there, just to flex on people and show people that I can.
Yeah. I
Um,
was
uh, but yeah, I do love that song, and I do think it stands out. I hope it gets some attention for being the fucking
I
craziest song.
think it will. I was playing the record in my kitchen while I was doing dishes one night making dinner, and my wife was in the room. She's like, "Is this all the same song?" I was like, "It is. It
Yeah.
is. Yes, it is." And it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Like that one really stands out. And then you talked about, medieval and Vikings. Like there's a lot of obviously from the opening of Dragonborn, they're very prominent themes and styles. Like, is that something you've always been interested in, or is that something that just like clicked for the record?
Yeah, no, I've always been interested in it. I would say kind of from my teenage years on. I wasn't actually super into like fantasy stuff when I was a kid. Obviously, I'd
Mhm.
watch like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and stuff, but that was
Sure.
about it. That was about as far as it went when I was like a kid. But as soon as I hit my teenage years, started playing more video games, started playing more RPGs and shit, and
Right.
getting deeper in. Started reading books, started reading a bunch of like fantasy books and stuff, and Game of Thrones and blah blah blah. You know, all the big stuff. Like it all kind of clicked, and always been something I was into. I think I probably suppressed the like nerdy side of myself for a long time for various reasons, you know, and I also suppressed the like metal side of myself for a long time as well. And so this album is has a lot of themes of like embracing your authenticity, embracing who you really are, becoming the
Yeah.
person you were always meant to become, you know, fulfilling your destiny, a lot of things that like fantasy pieces of art play with and stuff. And
Hmm.
I just wrapped it up in a message that meant something to me.
Nice.
But I would say that's the main, you know, kind of message of the album, the main theme of the album, the main thing that a lot of the songs play with is just like, you know, truly accepting who you are with pride and everything that makes you you. And I think I've made an album that represents me that probably, you know, some people are like, bro, this album is gonna start like so many trends and stuff. And I'm like, maybe, but honestly, I don't know how. And maybe take that as a challenge because I feel like this album is so unique to me that I truly feel like I've made something that only I could make, and I don't know anybody else that would make an album
Right.
that's quite like this, you know? Um, and I think that's a good thing. I think we need more artists and more people in the rock and metal
Hmm.
space that are doing things that are just like, fuck, I don't know if anybody else could make this, you know? I don't know if
Right.
start a trend because it's so specific to him or so specific to a band, to whatever band. You know, like I hope that more so than I hope that it inspire, you know, do I want a bunch of more people making like fantasy metal hip hop albums? Like, no, probably not. And I don't think it's going to happen. But what I do hope is that it inspires bands or kids that are coming up in the space right now to like do something that's just very truly unique to them and that combines all of their interests and their beliefs and their influences into whatever they love and making something that only they can make. Because that's your gift as an artist to the world. It's like if I just make something that's exactly like a bunch of other bullshit out there, then I'm not adding anything to the conversation. I'm not giving people the gift of a unique piece of art. You know, I'm just doing what's already been done a million times. And yes, you can have influences, like I said, and yes, I do, and I wear them on my sleeve, but you have to add something to the conversation. You have to be yourself and do something that only you can do because that's the gift. That's
Yeah.
the making great art is that it's what you are giving to the world. It's not what somebody else has already given to the world.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell, like you said, what artists like influenced you. It's there, but it's not like Freak is a Korn ripoff song. It's not like When the Darkness Comes as an Avenged Sevenfold ripoff song. You've taken what inspired you and the artists that you like, used a little bit of their sound, but made it bigger and made it unique to you. I mean, any of these songs could have comparisons to anybody, but like you've
Sure.
made these songs unique too.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, I mean, like I said, making a metal album, you know, if I'm putting a metal riff in a metal album, it's gonna sound like some band or somewhere, you know, it's gonna sound like something that has
Right.
already done. So
But
it's about what you add on top of that. It's about how you tweak
yeah.
things to make them something that you truly enjoy. And that's the also the gift of making music in general is that like I can make maybe I love Avenged Sevenfold, maybe I love all these bands, maybe I love this hip hop artist, whatever. But what I can do is then make my own perfect music to listen to because maybe not every song from this one specific band is a song I like, or
Mhm.
maybe I really like 75% of what this band does, but I don't really like the other 25% of what they do in their
Yeah.
songs. And I can take that other 25% and fill in the gaps with other shit I love to make it like my perfect
Mhm.
genre of music. That's what you're supposed to do as a band or an artist is make something that you want to hear. Make whatever music you feel like the world is missing. You know, that's what you can do. So that's
Yeah.
what I
And I feel like after listening to the record, like you get a really good idea of like who you are as a person, what your personality is like. Cause like, dude, here's to the years, like it's got a medieval dance break in the song. Like
correct.
just in the middle of it, it's time to dance. Like,
Yep.
and the
Yep.
music video is
Yep.
just, it looks like you just showed up and you're like, I want to do a medieval King Arthur style dining hall, and we're gonna dance in the middle
Yep,
of it. You know,
that
this
is what we do.
album is just
I
it's fun.
choreographed that dance too. There's no choreographer, just made it up. Yep. Sat there with a buddy of mine, my buddy saw.
Yes.
We just made up the dance from scratch, like trying to. And I'm not a dancer, but I think it's good enough, and got the message across. But yeah,
Yes.
like I said, there's always things that you have to add to the conversation, and yeah, I hope that I do think that my personality really shines through. If you
Mhm.
listen to the whole album, you're probably gonna get a feel for it, and I also like the Tenacious D thing that you brought up because I do think that one review I saw an earlier review of the album from somebody that was like there's a something that maybe not a lot of people will catch, maybe some people will, but there's like an underlying sense of humor that the album has where I'm definitely going all the way with these ideas. I'm not like half-assing any ideas. I'm taking whatever the idea is to its furthest conclusion, and usually that means that it's a little over the top and potentially hilarious at
Mhm.
times. And I kind of hope that comes through because I had so much fun. The amount of times I was making one of these songs and like bring my friends, bring my roommates into the room and just play it. We just sit there and fucking laugh because of how over the top it is or how good the idea is. And I just had so much fun making it. And I
Mhm.
think that fun, I think how much fun I had making it probably comes across in the music. And I
Yeah.
hope that's something that it's not lost on people, that people hear that like there's kind of an underlying sense of fun that the whole thing has. And yes, there's serious songs. There's songs that mean things,
Mhm.
and everything. And every song has its own little special meaning. But I
Yeah.
did so much. The primary emotion I was feeling was just joy and creativity the entire time I was making it. And I was just having so much fun
Yeah.
exploring this concept to like its furthest degree that I really hope that comes across.
It does, and that's where I get like the Andrew WK from because like with his music, he always I don't care. I'm having fun. If it sounds like fun, if it like I don't care how off the wall it is. If it's good, it's fun. Let's do it, and we hope people like it. And that's exactly the vibe I get with this. Is it's just like you said, just what do I think is fun? What do I enjoy? And let's make it work. Like
Yeah.
that's what makes music so good is something it can be so good is like don't put boundaries and walls and like anything around what you do. Just sit down and what comes out. If it's good, it makes you smile. It's exactly what makes it good. And dude, that's this record.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I mean, I think that's what separates artists from musicians, is
hmm
that there's a lot of good bands out there that are good guitar players,
yeah,
good drummers, even good singers,
hmm
but they're not bringing any artistry to the
yes,
table. You can tell that there's no real vision. You can tell that there's no real spark, no real inspiration. You can tell they're good players. You can tell they know how to write a riff. You can tell
hmm
they know how to play their instrument really well. You can tell they even know how to sing. But what separates the legends from the bands is a level of artistry and a level of vision and a level of inspiration that comes out.
hmm
And that's what all the greatest bands have. They
yeah,
have that level of artistry. They have that level of vision that is unique to them. And it's not enough just to be a good player of an instrument. You have to have a certain level of vision, a certain level of artistry to really like stand out. And that's what I hope that we see more of in the future out
hmm
of the rock and metal space. I want less good guitar players and I want more artists in the middle of things. So
yes. And then obviously Kiss from a Rose is that's spinning right now on Octane. And like when I first heard that you were covering the song, I was like, okay. But then when you think about it, just like with the guitar intro, it that's like
yeah,
it really does for
yeah,
you
yeah.
to cover
I
that song.
I knew I wanted to do one cover on the album. I didn't know what it was going to be, but something for the older friends that know me from some of the remixes and the covers and the interpolations and stuff.
Mhm.
And wanted to throw one in, but I didn't want to force it. I didn't want it to like not make sense on the album. And one day I was just listening to Kiss from Rose on Spotify, and like the second I heard the flute and everything and the lyrics and stuff, I was like, bro, this is meant to be on my fucking medieval themed metal album. Like this is gonna work so well, and it does. It really does. It's definitely
Yes.
I'm definitely very proud of that cover, and I'm just doing very well right now on Octane and everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully it keeps going. But
And for the album to be coming out right before you hit the road with Motionless, Black Veil, or not, no, not much, Falling in Reverse, Black Veil Brides. Tech Nine's on that tour?
correct. Yep. Yep. Tech Nine
Ooh,
Dance Gavin Dance. Yeah. Stacked
dude,
lineup. Pretty honor. It's a crazy good lineup when Tech Nine is the second of five act playing, and you're like, God damn, this is a big tour.
it's
I'm
crazy.
very honored to be opening that. Ronnie's become a really good friend, good ally of mine. Some people know that I co-wrote all my life the Jelly Roll and Falling in a Verse song. And yeah, man, he's just really taken me under his wing, and he's just been so kind to me. Really put me on, promoted all my new music, inspired me, to be better in my own way and everything. And so to be able to go on the road with him at this point too, because I my first tour ever was actually the Falling Universe tour, and that was like right when
Nice.
COVID hit, and we were only playing. It's crazy how much he's grown, and like we
Yeah.
were only playing most of those venues were like 2,000 to 4,000 cap venues, and it was awesome. That's nothing to scoff at, but like to go from that and now the second tour I'm doing in Falling in Reverse after, we're both dropping our albums is a 20,000 person a night fucking amphitheater tour is pretty awesome, and it's very
Yeah.
inspiring. So, very
Yeah.
honored to be a part of that. And then I have my first headline tour right after
Hmm.
that Dragonborn tour, in October and November, and really excited for that. Obviously, I've never done a headline tour, so it'll be fun to actually play my own shows with all my own fans there, and kind of give them the full Dragonborn experience. It's going to be really cool. So
Can't
I'm super
wait. You guys are coming here to Indianapolis like right in the middle of September. So right when the weather starts getting nice since it's
excited.
outdoors. Thank God. Thank you for
Yeah.
not coming in July or August, dude.
Oh,
Thank you.
I don't want to do that ever because I have played shows in with the fucking, and I'm the first one, so I'm not going out there when it's dark outside. I'm going out there when the sun is probably going to be beating down directly on me, 5, 6 p.m. Yeah, so I've played some very hot shows in my life, and those are always a fucking struggle to get there. There'll
Yeah.
probably be a few hot ones on the tour, but it should
Yeah.
be for the most part pretty decent. So yeah.
With with how over the top the music can get, have you thought about how over the top you can go as far as the headline tour goes and the live show with how much stuff you
Of
can?
course. Of course. I mean, unfortunately, I am not at the size yet to pull off everything I would like to pull off in my head. Of course, I have grand visions for what I want my live shows
You
to
should.
like, but I'm gonna do as much as I can, for the size of the venues and the shows we're playing, and hopefully put on a really good show for people. So
Man,
yeah,
I
shows
can't.
are
I
important. I love live shows. I'm a performer at heart. I've played a lot
Yeah.
of growing up in bands and everything, and I like a show to be a show. I don't
Hmm.
like when bands just go out there and whatever, we're just gonna play our songs and there's nothing to it. I like when I see a band that puts on a fucking show, put some effort in. You can tell they love and care, and they love playing live and they love putting on a show for people. And that's fun.
Yeah.
I think metal needs more of that. We need more people
Hmm.
about putting on a great show. So
Well, I cannot wait for the show here in September. I'm pumped. There's not a band on that lineup I don't like. I cannot wait. And honestly, man, like I'm not just blowing smoke. You have created one of my favorite albums of the year. You've done something that honestly nobody thought could be done. You did something that has not been done before.
thank you.
So,
I really appreciate that,
yeah.
dude.
Yes, it's the second I have a download of it, it's going on my phone, man. I've spun this thing like crazy. Like people are tired of me telling them how good it is. I can't wait for them to hear how good it is.
Yeah,
Um,
well, in one week it'll be the world's. So
I, I was
yeah.
interviewing Baron Corbin from WWE, and he was asking me who I'm listening to right now. I'm like, oh, that new Jeris Johnson. Oh, wait, you can't hear it yet. When it's out, listen to it. So,
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I imagine it'll probably, because it's so different and such its own thing. I imagine that it'll be one of those albums that probably grows a lot over time and stuff. And I'm still a relatively new and small artist,
mhm.
but this to me is truly like my first. real album. I technically have one other album prior to
Yeah.
this, but it really was more of a collection of songs and not an album. And this one I wanted to make an album with a purpose, and I really did that. And so to me, this is my true kind of debut to the world, and so I think it'll probably grow over time. And as more and more as the word of mouth kind of spreads about the album and people like really dive in and give it a chance, I think that it will just continue to grow over time. It'll
Hmm.
probably be one that hopefully reaches its peak popularity, not the first week, but maybe 2 years in is when people really start going, oh fuck, this album that Jeris dropped 2 years ago, this shit is insane.
Like I ask everybody the same question at the end. I want to ask you, now that we're getting close to the release, you've had a time to listen to it all the way through, looking back on it, man, what does this record mean to you as the artist?
Loaded, big question, loaded question. It as I just said, I think, not to rehash what I just said, but I do think this is the most important thing for me, is that I feel like this is my true unveiling of who I really feel like I am as an artist. And I don't feel like I've shown that or had the chance to show that yet. And so I hope that people go in with an open mind, maybe even forget anything about Jared, even if you're a fan of mine, maybe forget anything about my previous music and just go in with an open mind and just be like, okay, if this is who he says he truly is, and this is who he says he truly is, and what does that sound like, and I just hope that people give it a chance, and I think that they will, and I think that they probably won't have to even try because I think it's good. But yeah, I would say that for me, this is my true like hello world. This is who I am. Putting my heart on my sleeve, being truly authentic and making something that I am truly proud of for the first time in my life. And I think that's going to show, and I hope that people love it and receive it well.
You got a lot to be proud of with this album, man. There's not a bad song on it. They're all different. It's perfect. And thank you for doing something that's never been done before and getting me such an album that I love so much, man.
Thank you
Thank
for the
you.
kind words. Thank you for loving it.
Yeah,
Yeah, looking forward to reading your review, bro.
absolutely, man. Stay safe on the road. Enjoy your time off, and we'll see you in Indy here in a few weeks.
Yep. See you in Indianapolis.